alive. Hello everyone, it's Kendall here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what's up, home skill biscuit? I know I've been missing. Before we get started, just a few things. If my face is looking a little weird, I got a wisdom tooth taken out. Also, if you see me doing like this, I'm pretty sure I have a piece of carrot that got caught in the gum hole. So that's an update. Also, another reason why I was gone for an entire week was because I just came back from Sweden. I had a fun time over there. I got to live out my 16-year-old K-pop fantasies. I was the hype man of a K-pop concert. All I did was say skirt skirt 3 times and I got a free trip to Sweden. No, it was great. Everyone was sweet. Almost positive I gained just 8 pounds just in my face. They gave us an entire pizza per person and it had fries on it. I can rant about this all day. It was delicious and so much candy. I'm pretty sure I'm pre-diabetic. Anyway, I say all that to say that's why I was gone. Really bad at getting work done. I thought when I moved I'd be better at like pre-filming. I'm like, what is there to distract me? Is there anything else to announce? Oh, my ColourPop collaboration. We're extending it another week. So if you want to check that out, that'll be down below. I'm not going to go on and on about that because I have whole videos about it. So anyway, happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is on my channel, it's a little something called Bad Movies and a Beat, the series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. Last time we talked about a little ditty called Twilight New Moon, a movie that tries to tell us that it's okay to say, I broke up with my significant other. I guess it's time to kill myself. It's not funny. It really isn't. And that carrot is really lodged up in there. But if you haven't seen that video or any of the other videos in this here series, be sure to check it up above, or you can check it out in the Bad Movies and a Beat playlist. So today is a movie that I have actively avoided for years. I knew it would raise my blood pressure to a particular crescendo that I didn't even know if I would survive it. The rage was imminent, okay? But at the same time, I'm a masochist, and because I'm a masochist, something about the self-induced rage feels right. Have I ever told you guys how much I love Death Note? Because I do. I've watched that anime so many times, countless times, both dubbed and subbed. I know people want to come with me with the, oh my god, you listen to dubbed. I'm a businesswoman. I have things too. I don't have time to learn Japanese just to watch this show, man. I have the all-in-one manga. Hold on, let me show it to you. My crowning achievement. I have the all-in-one manga. It looks like a giant block of spam. I love it so much. I've loved it since it was out because I remember I like caught it when it was first out. What was that, 2005-ish? I was 10. I've loved this show for the majority of my life, for more than half of my life. So I'm about to cry from frustration. So a few years ago when people were like, hey, did you know they're making a live action adaptation set in Seattle with a dude named Light Turner? I wanted to kill everyone and then myself. I wanted to destroy everyone. Yo, I refused to watch it for years. For this video, I've watched it. You're welcome. Congratulations. Not the first time y'all put me in danger's way. I'm about to catch a case, man. Side note, I sound like Bailey Sarian. I have a neighbor that at cyclical times of the day likes to ponder her life by walking back and forth for intermittent time periods. So if you hear that, she stopped. I would just like to go on record and say that no movie has infuriated me, incited such primal rage in me as this movie has. Actually, immediately after watching it, my best friend Kyrie, what's up baby, how you doing? He was like, so this or Cats? Which is such a befitting question. But the thing is, I hate this movie and I hate Cats in a very different way. The thing about Cats is that Cats was like, it incited a visceral response, a pain, like a physical, fight or flight thing. Death Note incited a bloodthirsty rage in me, unlike any other movie ever has. Netflix's Death Note is many things, okay? But more than anything, it's just downright insulting. It's basically, it's what would happen if someone was asked to make a Death Note adaptation without ever having seen Death Note. Like you just know the core, like the general premise, but the actual, you've never actually seen or read the manga or the anime, and it just really pisses me off. The thing about the original Death Note, regardless of what age I am when I watch it, it never ages in the sense of the intricacy and the intelligence and, dare I say, frightening relatability. If you've never seen the original Death Note, let me give you just like a little premise real quick. It centers around a brilliant teen named Light Yagami. Star student, super popular, very attractive, everyone loves him, he's great, he's the smartest kid, as they always are. And he discovers this book cascading from the sky that's called the Death Note. There's a lot of rules in the Death Note, a lot of intricacies, but the main rule, the main idea is that if you write the name of a person while picturing their face, they will die. There's a lot of rules about like how they'll die, time of death, the possibility of death, what they do before they die. There's a lot of other supplementary rules, but the core is that, right? If you have their real name and you have their face in mind, they will die. Now, the core idea of the series is that Light is kind of a narcissist. He's very much so a narcissist and has a very strong god complex, and so he wants to be a god of a new world where crime and evil and injustice, that word is used a lot, justice, it's obsolete, and he is the ruler of this new world that is perfect, without crime, without murder, outside of the ones that he commits to establish order. There ends up being kind of this battle of wits between Light, who is referred to as Kira, this kind of omnipresent, omnipotent force that's killing all the bad guys. Unknown person is named Kira, but we as the audience already knows it's Light. And a police force led by this very eccentric, strange, but brilliant mind named L. But yes, it's this super impressive battle of wits between two geniuses who are butting heads in this chess game, and it's just so awesome. I love it. I've always loved it. I love it more as time progresses because, again, I watched it for the first time when I was like 10. So like as I get older and as I feel like I notice new things every time I watch it. It's so good. And before I get started on why this movie is garbage, please note that a lot of my issues will kind of come in the vein of that's not how they did it in the original Death Note, which, fair or unfair, I don't know, it is an adaptation. Maybe there should be more like license for creativity. That's not true. This movie is not, they shouldn't have even called this Death Note. They should have said something kind of sort of but not really Death Note. That's what should have been in the name. So a lot of my anger might not make sense to you if you haven't seen Death Note. I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. The actual Death Note is on Netflix, the dubbed and the sub. Are you lazy or do you like word choice? It's up to you. It's not long, especially in the scope of anime. Like sometimes it can get very, very long. And I'm like, when is it over, fam? Like it's less than 50, significantly less than 50. So check it out if you've never watched it. It's good. It's really good. What is morality? Is there morality in murder? Who is the problem? Is humanity only given to those who have not committed crimes? What is justice? What is evil? If you perform evil acts for the purpose of good, does it make it still evil acts? Like how does good and evil perform? What does it look like? Is there ever just one that's good or evil? I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. Perfection. But this is some bullshit. I knew this was gonna be some garbage very early. Like, cause one, it's an anime live action adaptation. They're never good. Even in Japan, they're awful as well. Two, I knew it was gonna be awful because for some reason they felt the need to switch it to Seattle as opposed to keeping it in Japan. For what? For why? I have no idea. And then they turn Light Yagami into Light Turner. Downgraded, poorly written, shitty ass version of And that's just the beginning of the inconsistencies with the original Death Note. This movie is like nothing at all like the original, which is really confusing to me. Like, why even make the movie? Really, the only thing similar between this movie and the original Death Note is that it is about a teenage boy who finds a Death Note that has essentially the same rules. There are some added ones in there that are kind of like, what? Well, that are meant particularly for the purpose of this movie. That's fine, whatever. But everything else, completely different. Which begs the question, who asked for Death Note to be different? Like, Death Note has such a cult following because of the way it is. Why make a movie that is nothing like that just to piss us off? It's a very popular story. A lot of people know it. A lot of people love it. Why? Who sat down and was like, you know what we should do? We should do nothing the same at all. Like everything, change it. Everything. Not just a few things to make it applicable to a movie. Literally everything. But alas, let's get into the film. Again, the film centers around Light Turner, a disenfranchised, intelligent teen who is very smart and uses his intelligence to sell pre-completed homework and tests, he too finds a notebook that cascades from the sky that he commences to pick up, presumably out of pure curiosity. Lo and behold, it is the Death Note. Who'd have thought? He ends up in an altercation with a bully during the rain because apparently no one's afraid of pneumonia. Because Light is incredibly annoying, he gets decked in the face. While out cold, a teacher finds all of his cheat sheets that he was selling to people. He ends up getting detention after this like very sloppily implemented plot moving device where they talk about how his mom got killed.
Some people might look at you, a kid in your situation, losing your mom the way you did, and they'd be willing to cut you a little slack when it comes to these kind of behavioral issues. Well, I don't believe in that.
I'm sorry, this is stupid. I hate this movie. I hate it so much because the main core reason why I hate this movie as much as I do, somehow they were able to make all of my characters that even if I didn't like them, because that's kind of the point, that you don't like them, at least you respected them. They were intriguing to watch. They were frighteningly intelligent. They were methodical. OG Light is super cool-headed. He has a superiority complex as wide as the day is long. And for some reason, oddly enough, that made him likable. And if not likable, certainly respectable. You're like, wow, you're crazy, but damn, that was smart. Checkmate. Light Turner has no redeeming qualities at all. They try to tell us he's smart, but he proves it in no way. He's weak and unsure. He's annoying as all hell, man. He doesn't make a good hero or villain. Oddly enough, forgettable in the grand scheme of things, and I'll explain that later. Actually, at the risk of getting ahead of myself, this is essentially the main core gripe. There's so many gripes, but if I had to pinpoint one, this is the problem I have with this movie. They turn everyone that was so respectable in the original show and manga, the technical graces, so to speak, the mind games, the things that make it super interesting, this cat and mouse, they took all of that away and made everyone super emotionally volatile in a way that wasn't necessary in the original Death Note. Also, let's talk about technical things as far as like the acting and the camera work. I don't know what it is, but something about how this is filmed is incredibly perplexing to me. It kind of looks like a Ned's Declassified reboot, a Disney Channel original, but the only thing that shows you that it isn't is because there's like cursing and blood and gore, which is another issue I have. I'll get back to that. But it looks super young and childlike, and like the acting is so like soap opera and over dramatic and over exaggerated and cartoonish. I use that word a lot in these videos, I've noticed. Because of that, it ruins whatever small amount of thrill and suspense that there might have been. Like, it's such a smart show, man. Y'all just couldn't leave it alone. Y'all can't leave nothing alone. Anyway, during detention, Light ends up opening and reading the first rules of the Death Note. He sees if you write their name in this book and think of their face, they'll die. The basics of the Death Note, if you will. And upon opening the book, he gets his first glimpse at the Shinigami, or the death god that owned this book. And that is, of course, Ryuk. I hate what they did to Ryuk too. Everything that they did in relation to him. They don't really show him throughout the movie. He's kind of just this like looming, weird, deathly presence that laughs before people dies. His entire point is to be frightening, essentially, in this movie, which was, again, incredibly perplexing to me. Again, if you've never seen the original Death Note, Ryuk isn't really a problem in he's not scary per se. He's weirdly enough comedic relief often, and he's kind of like a neutral party. He helps Light, but only conditionally. But instead, in this movie, one, they make him scary. He's supposed to be this like threatening, looming figure. Also, that's a Muppet. But also, in like a philosophical way, the way that this bothers me is that it kind of makes Ryuk seem like he's the danger, so to speak, when the whole point of the original Death Note is that no, it's not Ryuk. The scary thing of this world is not the supernatural, it's us. It's human beings who are killing other human beings because they have power to do so. Oh my god, why would you take away the entire freaking... It's like, why would you dumb it down? Why would you make it into this sappy, like, teenage, oh, I'm an outcast, so I'm gonna shut up. Y'all just ruined such a good show, man. But anyway, in this crappy movie, he meets Duke and they both see a bully just out there bullying. And he's like, hey, if you want, you could kill that dude. Like, you could kill him if you want. He's like, all you gotta do is write his name down. And if you want to get fancy, you can write how he dies. And he's like, okay. So he's like, bet, I'm gonna write this kid's name down and write that he gets decapitated. And the kid gets decapitated. Can't show you that. OG Death Note didn't have to rely on gore. It had a storyline. Seriously, I was really shocked by that. I was like, what? I mean, granted, original Death Note is about a bunch of people dying, but it's like, it didn't have to rely on gore, right? It was smart. It relied on the fear of the human mind. I don't know. It was a psychological thriller. You can tell that this movie had nothing going for it. So it had to like put a bunch of gore in it to be like, hey, ha, gotcha. See how fun and entertaining we are? One of the few similarities between this movie and the original Death Note is that Light's father is a cop. And we end up seeing Light and his father kind of have an argument about how Light's mom died. Guy who killed her in a drunk driving accident, I believe, was never convicted. He got off because of his money or connections or something like that. And Light is just fed up. He feels like his dad didn't do anything, or at least I think that's what he said, because for the life of me, there's like a good snippet where I have no idea what he said. I was like, what did he say?
Just once, it would be nice to think that you're a cop. How do you sleep at night knowing you just watched while a mob guy like Anthony Scoma walked away?
Deadass, I was in that airport replaying that line over and over and over again. I must have looked insane because I was audibly saying, what? Huh?
Watch while a mob guy like Anthony Scoma walked away.
Big mad. Light ends up going up to his room and trying out the Death Note on the guy that ended up killing his mom. Again, another weirdly misplaced, gruesome scene. Apparently getting impaled by a steak knife. It was really hard to comprehend what was going on. All of a sudden, he just had blood out of his mouth. That was very poorly shot. They didn't show what impaled him. It's just like a guy bumped into him and then he was bleeding. Next up is one of my favorite, and I'm using that sarcastically, added elements to this movie, which is the love interest, because that was necessary. That is this chick named Mia. Mia, I presume, is supposed to be kind of their version of Misa Misa from the original. Misa Misa was funny. I liked her. She was annoying though. Again, confusing. If you recall Misa Misa from the original Death Note, there's not really a love interest per se between her and Light. She really likes Light. She loves Light. She's obsessed with Light. It's not reciprocated as much as it is she's kind of a pawn in Light's scheme, which makes sense given context, you know? But in this movie, they made this love line incredibly crucial to the story, which again, cheap, unnecessary. It makes their sexual attraction important to the story. Sex, you can't sell a movie without a lot of it. Apparently. I presume this wasn't the point, wasn't the goal of the movie, but she ends up being like more of a crucial part of the movie than even Light is. Like, she was more interesting of a character to me than Light was, because again, they want us to believe he's intelligent and cunning when he isn't. He's overly emotional. He's freaking annoying. He's an idiot. You want to know the part where I almost threw my iPad across the venue, hitting whoever's in the way, is when Light straight up tells her, hey, I have this thing called a Death Note.
What is it?
What is what?
Your book?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
Do you really want to know?
OG Light was so intelligent and so careful. He would never have done that. Why did they make Light into such an idiot? Like, it's embarrassing. Just spit in my face. It would be less insulting. It would be nicer. Just spit up my nose. I'm waiting. Nostrils flaring. Like, Light Yagami would never be caught being this bitch made. It made me so mad. There's more gratuitous gore to prove to this random chick that he has the power to kill people. He ends up showing her his power and the Death Note, and they smash a lot and kill a lot of people. They have this like kind of Bonnie and Clyde garbage where they kill a lot of people that were bad people. They come up with the moniker Kita, which, quote, means light in Russian and Celtic. And it also, quote, sort of means killer in Japanese. So they literally had to go out of their way to make that make sense. Why did you put it in Seattle? Just put it in Japan. I don't understand. Yo. Speaking of Japan, they have a bunch of people get killed at a nightclub in Japan for some reason. Like strippers too. I didn't know that shaking that ass was a crime. And this is where we meet Black L. Do I hate L the most? I think I hate Black L the most. No, I hate Light the most, but he's a close second. So he's awful. He's terrible. He's a horrible L. Original L is weird. Like, that's kind of his thing. He's weird. He's eccentric. He's like, he's skinny and like he sits weird and stuff. Like, that's his thing. More so than the appropriate level of awkward and weird, he's giving me like, hey, black kids, that one anime fan black kid, you know, the one that runs like Naruto. He's all twitchy. He's a lot of that. Shoes really weird, like he's grinding down on cud like a cow. But most of all, the thing that bothers me the most about Black L is that he's played by Lakeith Stanfield. Beautiful ass, talented ass. I would throw this ass for Lakeith Stanfield. How dare you? How dare you give your talent to this debauchery? You are too good for this, sir. You were in Get Out. I haven't seen the photograph. Is the photograph out yet? But I'm sure you were spectacular in it. Why did you let this besmirch your resume, man? Is the check ever worth this? Yeah, sometimes. Also, in accordance with all the other people that I have a problem with in this movie, Et 2 is a bitch. Again, L, original, is cool, calm, calculated. He very rare. I don't think he ever really raises his voice. He never panics. He's so serene and stoic. He can stay serene and stoic because of his intelligence. He's again calculated, methodical, technical. He moves and plays this like a game of chess. And that's what's so interesting about his dynamic with Light, because they're both two sides of the same coin, and it's so interesting to see their mind games and their dynamic. It's incredible. But in this movie, he breaks and he falters and he's deranged. He displays, again, no real technical intelligence. He just eats a lot of candy and he sits weird. He's also very twitchy. Like, I can't think of another word for that. I mean, I guess in fairness, they are each other's equal. They're both awful in this movie, so I guess in some regards that's the same. I don't know. Light's dad joins a task force to catch Kira, and the dad ends up meeting L, who keeps his face covered and only his face covered. I note that because in this movie they also have Watari. Watari is in the original as well. He is a helper of L. But in the original, Watari isn't an idiot and he also covers his face. But for some reason in this movie, Watari doesn't think that's a good idea, even though L obviously has noticed the correlation between having to have someone's face as one of the prerequisites to be killed by Kira. So he didn't think to tell his right-hand man, hey, you might want to cover your face up. Also, the conclusion that Kira needs a face to kill, because this movie is so poorly done, we don't know how he reached it. We know how he reached it in the original anime because it was well written. He didn't just reach that conclusion out of nowhere. But in this one, he just knows that. God, just please watch the anime. Elle suspects that Light has access to police information due to his father. And again, kind of out of nowhere, he's suspect number one. So he ends up getting followed by a private investigator, and Mia and Light end up having an argument over whether or not they should kill these investigators. They end up dying, the private investigators, which will be a little not so hard to imagine twist. It wasn't a good twist. We all saw it coming. Mia killed him, but we'll get to that. Light's dad actually gets on television, live television, and challenges Kira to kill him. And Mia and Light argue about it because Mia's like, kill that mofo, kill him. And he like, that's my dad. Like, she don't give a bro. If he dies, he dies. If you're willing to kill all these other people, but you're not willing to kill this random person, it does kind of make you look suspicious if they already had suspicions of you. So as you can imagine, that caused some strife between Light and his girlfriend, where she's like, kill him, kill your daddy. Elle confronts Light saying, I know you're Kira, which was the weirdest freaking scene, dude. It was so strangely made. It was so strangely acted, written. They both did horrible jobs, and that's how you it is true. Like, it's not the actor. I would hope the guy that plays Light is a better actor than this. Again, he's giving me that Disney, like, how do you know it's me? RL Lakeith freaking Stanfield. He has this weird twitchy quality for some reason that he added. He looks like he's about to cry.
I'm just here to make sure you actually burn.
Well, if that's how it has to be.
It is, Light. You know that as well as I do. There are no draws in this game.
Which is weird. And again, these characters, that's kind of their thing. They don't lose their cool. Why take away the core element of Death Note? Like the whole, like, that's the whole show. Is like how methodical and intelligent these kids are. So you say, let's take away arguably the most important component to both of their characters. Make them both irrational and emotional and not very smart. I've never been so angry watching a movie. Seriously. I guess your girlfriend saying that she's cool with your dad dying was not a deal breaker because they end up back together. And once they get back together, they plan to use Watari to find L's real name. Apparently, L's real name is locked away in some chest somewhere in some organization somewhere in New York. Did I forget to explain this? If you write in the Death Note what the person does before they die, they'll do it. Assuming it's reasonable. Say if you're in Japan, you can't kill yourself in an hour in New York City, for instance, right? That's not logistically possible. Another thing that you can't do is reveal information that you don't know. So Watari doesn't know L's real name. So they tell him to go to the location that would have his real name on record so that they can get it and kill L before they get caught, right? For some reason, Light is like he wishy-washy. He doesn't know if he wants to kill people or not or whatever. And so he says, I don't want to kill Watari. Instead, I'm going to make him reveal this information. And then before he dies, I'm going to burn his page with his name on it. And that allows him to live in this movie. I don't recall that being a rule in the original Death Note. They just added that to sprinkle in whatever. The thing is, you can only do this for one person. So he was like, I'm gonna do that for Watari. Later, L confronts Light's dad about Light being Kira, especially because Watari is suddenly gone missing. Again, L is super erratic and has no chill, which is, again, why would you? Later on, there's a homecoming. Literally, do y'all have to put a dance in every teen movie? Anyway, at homecoming, he rushes away to find his Death Note in the most strange shot I've ever seen. He goes to his locker, he pulls out the Death Note, and he like pauses in front of the camera so that we know that's what he got. What else would he get? What else would be important for him to rush and get? It looked like product placement. Anyway, he's rushing to his notebook so that he can be around to get information about L's true identity and to burn the page before Watari dies. But before he can find the page with Watari's name on it, he notices that Mia actually stole the page out of it. So because of that, Watari dies. He ends up getting shot by random people that were looking for him, as opposed to him. Now that I just thought about it, why would there were people searching for Watari because he went missing and L was like, where's my dude? So there's people searching for him. When they found him, they shot him? Why wouldn't he just die of a heart attack? He could have just died of natural causes. Why was he shot by people that were looking for him? Light is big mad at Mia because she essentially killed Watari. And she's like, well, don't blame me because you're a bitch. You always pussy out at the last minute. So I was taking things into my own hand. You shouldn't even have the book, you little punk. Which, in fairness, she's kind of right. She ends up telling the whole story of how she ended up killing all the investigators, how she got the information of all the people that were following. Oh, I forgot about this because this is kind of important. She also put that Light dies at midnight and he's like, what? You're gonna kill me? She was like, go get my book. She's like, if you get the book before midnight, give me the book. I will make sure that you don't die. I'll burn your page, right? Before you actually die. Ooh, I just thought of a bunch of things that don't make sense about that. You can control people before you die if you just write it in the Death Note. I don't know why she didn't just write Light Turner gets the book and gives it to Mia, whatever her name is, before he dies at midnight. And then he would get the book and give it to her, and then she could burn the page if she wants to keep him alive, or she could just let him die. She doesn't do that. And so Light goes to get the book, and instead of just burning the page that says he dies at midnight, he instead sits there and does the most convoluted scheme where he has to run to the Ferris wheel with Mia, and then she takes the book, but he doesn't take the book, and then the Ferris wheel falls and she falls and dies instantly, but he falls into the water where a pedophile finds him and helps him out the water before he dies. He ends up getting taken to the hospital where another criminal finds his book and gives it to him and just lays it on his stomach while he's in a coma. It's so stupid, bro. No, and I guess no one sees that this book is on his stomach, this big ass ominous book that says Death Note, that if you just open it you can see the rules and that there's the names of a bunch of criminals that have died. Also, while falling from said Ferris wheel, that one piece of paper must fall into a random bonfire, stopping light from dying at midnight. The beauty of the original Death Note is how much things make sense. It's so calculated, it's so well thought out. Like, do you know how much thought goes into making something like that that's so airtight, and y'all just poo-poo all of that and say, screw you guys, you're here for blood, gore, romance, sex, and things that don't make sense. Mia dies, Light lives. L goes around, fallen hero, so to speak. He was once venerated. Yeah, L is considered this kind of social pariah now. He wasn't able to solve anything, and he spent a lot of money, and he's kind of just this fallen soldier, so to speak, I guess. Kind of turns into this lunatic that was never able to solve this one particular crime. And without having the whole Death Note, which would say what the rules are of the Death Note, i.e. allow you to know that it has the ability to kill people, for some reason he wants to write a name down, even though he never discovered the Death Note, doesn't know the mechanics of the Death Note, knows really nothing about the Death Note. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna write his name on this random ass piece of paper and it's supposed to be super intense. I don't know, maybe I missed something, but this movie is garbage, so maybe I just went a little brain dead for a second there. Back at the hospital, the dad knows that Light is Kita. They start playing this very ill-placed cover of "And I'm Your Lady." What? And the movie ends with Duke laughing maniacally in the background, kind of insinuating that someone has written his name and he will die soon. Literally, if I wanted to, I could sit here for 8 million years talking about how angry and disgruntled I am by this movie. I've just never been so insulted. I just don't understand. I don't know who greenlighted this. Who was like, you know what would be a great idea? Let's make a Death Note movie that's absolutely nothing like Death Note. Because them weebs will eat it up, honey. Big ol' F you to everyone that's ever like this. Just pee on my sheet mask. I would accept that easier. There you go, that's the look. And if you like this video, be sure to like this video. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram and Twitter, both of which are KennieJD. If you have any other films that you think I should watch and be masochistically entertained by, be sure to put that down in the comment section. And I will see you guys on Tuesday, assuming I can get out of this jet lag. Bye.